This is how I make my chicken, rice, egg, banana every day. It's so good. Depending on cost, either get the huge bag of like frozen chicken tenderloins, not the chicken breast, the big pieces, like the tenderloins, the skinny ones that look like this. Get the smaller ones, and then, or get the ones that are fresh, like, you know, in the fridge section. What I think is it definitely changes up how much food weighs based on how you cook it. What I like is I don't like super dry food, especially chicken. I really don't like dry protein. So I personally prefer the stove. When I was working, you know, all those hours I used to work, I don't know, I had to kind of just make it work with my time. But if you have a little bit more time, I think like 2 meal prep days per week is really attainable and sustainable for most people on like a weekend and then like a midweek. One of your rest days from the gym in the middle of the week and then one of them on the weekend. Prep like 3 or 4 days or whatever. Or at least like get it kind of ready to go. So I prefer not air frying my food if I can. If I'm time restrained, oven, air fryer, stove, I'll do whatever I gotta do. But all you gotta do is figure out how much protein do I need per meal. If you're doing ounces or grams or whatever, figure that out raw. How much is, let's say you need 50 grams of protein per meal or 70 or 40 or whatever. Just figure out how much raw amount yields that protein amount. And then let's say you take 1,000 grams, you know, a kilo of raw chicken, and you go, all right, this 1,000 grams yields me X amount of protein. When I cook it, it ends up being a cooked weight of, let's say, 700 grams. Okay, cool. So 70% roughly of my raw weight gets converted to cooked weight, and that amount is the same exact protein. Nothing happened. It's just lost moisture to get you to the protein amount that you need. So to make it super easy, whatever method you cook with, air fryer, stove, oven, fourth option, whatever, just figure out what is the raw weight that I need to get the protein that I need. And then how much ends up actually weighing out yielded cooked, and that ratio, you just use that for all your meals. So once you figure it out once, you're kind of good for all the meals going forward. So for me, when I take 1,000 grams of raw weight chicken and we throw it in the freezer, I literally just max out these Tupperwares with chicken right here. I just fill it, I don't weigh it, I don't do anything, I just max, it's not filled right now because we use some of it. But I'll just fill this whole thing with chicken that's raw, fresh, not frozen bags, because I just think it's better to get it like fresh. And I put it in the freezer. And one time, all I did was figure out whatever this weighed raw, and then I cooked it and I yielded an amount. That tells me like the ratio of, you know, how much I lose in weight, but it still gives me the same protein amount. So for me, I have to have my meal plan here. I have 250 grams raw weight chicken. So when I cook it, one time I cooked it once, it yielded me 175 grams cooked. So now, instead of weighing out all my raw food on my scale and taking all that time and being so like anal about it, I can just max out Tupperwares with raw chicken, throw it in the freezer so it stays fresh. The next day's food I put out into the fridge. So by the time the next day comes around, all of that frozen block, rock solid, like ice block, is like half thawed out, and then I can throw it on the stove. So now all I need to do is just weigh out 175 grams cooked weight, and that's how much I weigh out once it's cooked. So what I like to do is also to make it like faster, I keep the lid on. I want to trap as much moisture in as I can. And what I do is I basically just like hold the lid like this, and any moisture that's like at the bottom or any like water, like I don't want to wait around for this to evaporate. I just sort of just do that and just get rid of all this extra water. Okay, cool. So now I have my boring, plain, whatever. And I actually had a client texting me, they were like, you know, I gotta put all these sauces on my chicken because it's so boring, it tastes so bad, you know, I gotta get it down, and all these things. And I'm sort of like, cooking good, delicious food is really not that hard. But what I recommend is keeping all the moisture in, because dry texture food is just not great. So now that it's here, plain, boring, it's all cooked. You don't even have to be at the stove. You don't even have to like tend it. Just put the lid on it and all that heat is gonna cook all your food good. All I'm gonna do is grab my scissors and these things and just basically chop this up. And I have, look at the heat. I'm only on 2 out of 10. I'm only on 2. I don't want to burn the food. I just want to cook it. It only, I don't know in Celsius, but in Fahrenheit, it barely has to get like under 200 degrees in order for it to be like legitimately cooked. And now I'm going to take maybe 2 or 3 minutes and just, you know, basically just do this to all these pieces and get it into like a shredded kind of look. Basically end up looking like this. This is obviously not enough for me to eat a meal, so that's why I'm cooking, and I'm gonna add this plus some of this and make myself my meal. Only things I use for like seasonings, I track my salt. So what I recommend if you guys are doing any dieting phases, when it comes to sodium and water is very important. So out here in Thailand, we don't have, we go by liters. So this has to be in my body by the time I go to bed. One of these I drink per day. I think it's 6 liters. This is exactly 6 liters. I drink one of these per day. I have 1 or 2 diet sodas per day, but I try to keep my fluid intake as close daily as I can. And my sodium intake, I do 10 grams. Now, if you're like me and like having structured routines, repetitive, duplicatable, copy and paste, daily little, things, either get like a big container and put like all your salt in like a Tupperware, and then get a little measuring spoon thing, and you can just scoop out your salt. And if you can keep your salt and your water intake the same day to day, it's easier to track, weight gain and weight loss, because you're not going to deal with too much water fluctuations. If you think about how easy, like when you pee, you lose 1/2 to 1 pound of water. 1/4 to 1 kilo to like 1/2 kilo of water. Just peeing, just weight. So if you weigh yourself at 6 in the morning versus 7 versus 8 versus 9 in the morning, and you have like 1 or 2 extra times you peed or whatever, that's going to change your body weight. So to minimize all these variables, I try to track and keep things as consistent as I can, as much as I can. So I have this on the scale. So my salt on the scale weighs 56 grams. So by the time today, or 55 grams, by the time today is over, this will say 45. And I get 10 grams of sodium per day, which yields about, 10 grams of salt per day, which yields about 4,000-ish grams of sodium. Salt and sodium are 2 different measurements. So all I'm gonna do is, I eat this meal twice, and then I have a ground beef meal, and I do 1 gram of salt before the gym. So to get 10 grams, I do 3 grams in a meal, 3 grams in the next meal, 3 grams in the third solid food meal, and then 1 gram before the gym. And I have a little thing right here, one of these things, and I basically just go, all right, I'm at 56. I don't like I need like one of those drug lord scales, like in Breaking Bad, where he holds like the little thing and he puts the meth on the scale to measure like fine amounts. But I like using the heavier, as opposed to this, which weighs literally nothing. I'd rather see a number on here, and then, all right, it's at 54. So I'm just gonna do this until this says 44. 44, perfect. All right, so this is my salt for the day. It doesn't have to be exact every meal, but just like 1/3 of this per meal and like a little bit pre-workout. Super simple. So give me 1 sec. I'm gonna cut all this up. I'm gonna put 3 grams of salt on the actual meal. Not yet, I'm not salting this yet. This right here, I just found this at the store. Regular something, Italian seasoning, I don't know. And then some garlic powder right here. Just some black pepper. Look at it, look at it. She's being ridiculous. Also, I found this humongous bag. Where the hell is it? I put it in a salt container, but this is just like white pepper. Honestly, I don't really know the difference between white and black pepper, even though they're both black. I don't know. Yeah, so throw all that in here, and I'll see you guys in 1 second with a kind of semi-final product. All right, so this is about as like fine and shredded as I like. Just making sure there's no more like big chunks or whatever. This is maybe like, 2 days worth of food, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more. And then still on level 2, I really recommend eggs, especially eggs. Chicken, like, you gotta cook that on low heat, not ruin your food and be like, oh, chicken tastes so bad, chicken and rice is so boring. Honestly, I don't think it's boring. It's just people are bad at cooking, and then they blame it on, whatever. I don't even know if this thing works. Is anything coming out?
Can't tell.
When Michael Scott's like, I don't even know if anything's gonna come out when they're doing the drug test. Love that. So here's where I feel like this meal gets so delicious. So the rice, oh geez, you see that? It's launched. Whatever, I'll clean this up in a minute. When I was at home, I was doing basmati rice, because jasmine rice, see how it's kind of like, it's just very sticky, and like the water is the proper amount. It's not mushy, it's just very sticky rice. And I personally like basmati rice, which has like, I don't know, kind of like breaks up a little bit more. The stuff is like glue, So I'm gonna go in here. Ready? All right, so put that aside. Next, I don't know what your macros are. I don't know what your meals are. What we're gonna do is get some eggs now. Training day, meal 1. This is kind of how I do it. My first meal of the day is eggs and a protein shake, and berries. However, I don't want to make a protein shake because that's boring with water. I'm not just gonna like eat berries and then mix eggs separately. So I kind of divide my first meal up. And at the end of the day, as long as you get all your calories in, it kind of doesn't really matter where they are, really, you know. That's a topic for another thing. So my training day meals, I have 3 eggs in my second meal. I have 3 eggs in my first meal, but I don't want to eat it with my first meal because I don't just want to eat like plain scrambled eggs by themselves. So depending on you guys, like your fats and where they are for the day, I recommend using not 93.7 chicken, not 93.7 turkey. Like you're getting saturated fat that doesn't really do anything. And yeah, you know, you can say, oh, it's really boring if it's like super lean. Literally chicken, it's better to have chicken breast, I think, for sustainability of enjoying your food. I genuinely think it's better to have chicken breast and eggs to create your fats and give like flavor variety, as opposed to going 93.7 or like fattier chicken or turkey or whatever, and then rice. So you have like 2 things. I want to have as many flavors and cool different combinations of foods and flavors that complement each other to make my food really enjoyable. When you're super hungry, you don't give a shit. You're just gonna eat it because you're super hungry. There's no Pam spray or anything here, so I just take a little bit of butter, and I'm not tracking or worried about maybe the 30 calories from this, but I just put them on the stove. Eggs are still on low heat. I kind of go back and forth. Sometimes I crack the eggs right into the pan, and you know, like when you get like Asian food or like a fried rice, I'm trying to make like a fried rice type of dish. You ever see how it's like got the yellow and like the yolk and the whites are kind of mixed in? I'll sometimes do that where I crack the eggs into the pan, let the whites and the yellows cook a little bit, and then mix it up so you have yellows and whites separately, kind of like mashed together. Or what I'll do is I'll scramble the eggs, but I eat all my food on these because these are like these paper things, and I just like rip the top off, and I use this as a plate sometimes, I use this as a plate sometimes, or Megan will use this, but I scramble the eggs on this because eggs make your glass and ceramic plates smell really bad. Even if you have a dishwasher, even if you scrub them really hard, raw egg and cooked egg makes, I think, plates and dishes smell horrible. So I eat and prep eggs, especially egg stuff, on something I can throw away in the trash. I don't care if it's wasteful, it's just how I do it. So sometimes I'll scramble the eggs here and then pour the scrambled egg into the pan. Today I kind of feel like doing the other one, where I just crack them in here. So now with the butter pretty much like all over the pan. Look at these eggs, look at the quality of the eggs here. We get like a 30 pack for 125 baht, so that's like maybe, it's like just under $4, I would say. Just round up, let's say $4 for a 30 pack. And like, dude, these are not crappy eggs. These are delicious. It's like the best eggs I've had in my life. Look at those huge yellow golden yolks. I don't know, man. You start to appreciate like little stupid things like the quality of the eggs when you're in countries like, you know, in Europe and Asia. So I'm gonna let this cook for just a couple seconds. Still on low heat. I'm not gonna let that cook all the way though. When I write a meal plan for somebody, it's not just here's your proteins, your fats, your carbs. Or when I'm looking at my meal plan, it's not just proteins, fats, carbs. It's how long can I eat this diet where I'm actually enjoying my food. You know, it's an enjoyable meal. I want to finish eating and be like, damn, I wish there was more. A lot of people don't have that because they think their food's boring and they don't know how to cook. So instead of having, let's say your meal, you're going to have 50 grams worth of carbs, 200 grams of rice. I'd rather go down to a little bit less rice and throw in something that can make my food delicious, like a nice banana. So when the eggs are roughly right around here, this is where I start to break it up, and I just go like this. So it's going to have yellow and white kind of all mixed in, cooked, as opposed to just an all homogeneous scrambled egg kind of thing. And my thing for cooking eggs is barely cook them enough. Once you start overcooking eggs, that's where they get that really gross smell and taste, and people will say, oh, I don't like making eggs or whatever, and I genuinely think it's because they use way too much heat and they leave it on the pan for way too long. Perfect, perfect. Okay, see how it's got that like cloudy, puffy, nice kind of look to it? And I want to get every gram so I can maximize every amino acid conversion to muscle. Okay, cool. So that's all set. Yeah, dude, I don't eat off glass. Sir, I don't eat off any, like, nothing that I have to wash. I don't do anything. All paper plates, all plastic utensils. Literally, look at our drawer. Well, this is empty, but this is usually plastic spoons, plastic forks, and like I don't touch anything in here besides plastic, paper. I eat multiple times a day, and I just don't want to deal with it. Alright, so I'm 175 for chicken, so that's 73 or 74. So I need another 100 here. 176, cool. I have rice at 300 grams per meal, and I have rice at 350 per meal, and then I have potato. Dieting tip, I highly, highly, highly recommend. If you're getting to the point that your rice portions are like kind of pathetic, you know, like, to me, 100 grams of rice and less is not worth using rice for carbs. So if I'm at 100 grams of rice or less for portion sizes, I'm going potato. Because potato, especially when you boil it, don't air fry it. If you're going the other way, you're trying to gain weight and you can't get your food down, use potatoes and air fry them. It's gonna shrink down to nothing, and you can eat so much potato, get so much carbs in it, doesn't even feel like you're eating anything. If you're one of those people that's like, I wanna eat as much food as possible on my diet, and your rice portions start going from 300, 250, 200, around the 100-ish mark, it's like, dude, just switch to potato and boil the potato, and you'll eat all this potato and you're barely getting any carbohydrates. I'm gonna bring this to 0 and add my rice. I'm not using my fingers because this shit's like glue. $2.99, 300. Cool. This rice just came out of the fridge, so it's cold. Pan's still on level 2. Again, not burning or overcooking anything. Now it's gonna go in the microwave for 2 minutes, just because the eggs are probably maybe warm, the chicken's probably not super hot anymore, and the rice is cold. So I wanna heat that up, and I'm gonna take my banana, 96, perfect. So what I like to do is get my handy dandy knife and just kind of do one of these guys. And you can make this food in bulk so easily. Just figure out, okay, what are my macros? Cool, how do I divide that out over X amount of meals that I need to eat? And then I kind of like break these up. Okay, so this is in the microwave still for another few seconds. This is gonna go in the pan like this. Dude, I'm telling you, these little details make food so delicious. I don't know if you've ever smelled or tasted like anything fried or stovetop when you put banana on the stove. It is so good. So like these will get a little crispy, not crispy, but like kind of like cooked. And it just releases, I think, a different smell. Like bananas on the stove in this meal taste different than if I just chopped a banana and put it in the food. Just the 30 seconds to a minute of this being on the stove makes it have like a different flavor. Alright, so this big chunk of food here is just gonna all go on here like that. Now I understand if you're at work, then you can't do this. It's totally fine. Go, alright, I'm at 600 grams of rice per day over 2 meals. So I'm gonna cook all this rice, I'm gonna cook all this chicken, all my banana, chop it up and just divide it out amongst your meals. It doesn't matter if one meal had 250 grams of rice and the next one had 285 and the next one had 270. Like, at the end of the day, did you get all your calories in? Guys have asked me about their test and other compounds, injections, and they go, what line do I fill it to? Because I'm a really big believer in loading a big fat syringe, a 3 or 5 mil syringe, and thinking, okay, over the course of a week, or the course of a day, or the course of 4 or 5 days, I'm taking X amount of milligrams per day, and they'll ask me, hey, like what line do I fill this to? I'm like, all right, well think about it like this. You're taking 600 mgs of test a week, your vial says 300 on it per milliliter. You know what I mean? So you're filling this up to the 3 line. Okay, it doesn't matter if you go to the 0.7 line exactly, because at the end of the week, you will have emptied like 2 of those syringes. At the end of your 3-day meal prep, as long as you get all the food in you over 3 days that your body needs, you're fine. So worrying about to the gram stuff when you're cooking in bulk is kind of not really a big deal. If I know in this pan, or over 2 pans, or over like whatever's in the oven and in my rice cooker, all of that combined is 6 meals, just roughly divided by 6, you know? Because I'm thinking of, like me, I have all day to like be in here and cook and prep and all these things. I'm thinking of people like where I was out of the house at 5 in the morning, coming home at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and you have to be really fast and efficient with your meal prep. So as long as everything is cooked by an amount that you can just divide by the days, like it's, I don't know, the obsession over, I guess, to the gram stuff, when you zoom out and think of, well, a day and a week and a month are all the same thing. So when I diet people and I work in their, you know, their weekly refeeds on the weekend, I could say, hey, no refeeds at all. But every day your food's higher. So you're gonna have 3,000 calories a day times 7 days is 21,000 calories a week. Or I can bring your food down to like 2,200 calories, and then on a Saturday you have like a higher calorie day. Over the course of the week you still had 21,000 calories. It's just you had 6 days of low and 1 high, as opposed to 7 days of like medium. So I sort of see a day, a week, a month. They're all just durations of time. And if you accomplished what you needed to accomplish over that duration of time, then you're good. If one meal has 50 grams of protein and the next one has 60 and the next one has 48, it really doesn't matter. Like, your goals are still going to be accomplished. This is 99% done. The only thing we're missing is our, is our salt. And as long as I finish the salt by the end of the day, I'm good. I don't care if that was 3 grams, 2 grams, 4 grams, it doesn't matter. As long as this whole thing is in my body by the time I go to bed, then we're good. So mix this all around. Dude, I wish you could smell this. It smells so good. Chicken, rice, banana. Now, easy bulking little thing, peanut butter, honey, whatever, sauces. You can use full calorie sauces if you are seriously struggling to eat enough food, which I think is nuts. Because, I don't know, anyone that says, oh, I can't eat enough, I'm just like, what? Like, my stomach is an empty black hole of a pit. Like, I could eat this, I could eat probably 5 or 6 portions of this, and then be like, all right, cool, like, what's next? I could grab a burger, I could grab ice cream, and I could just endlessly eat. So for me to relate to someone that says they can't eat because they're not hungry, I'm just like, what are you talking about? And with this meal, guess my feeling of, oh, I need to douse it in sauces just to get it down. Like, there's no need for me to add tons of G. Hughes sauces at $7 a bottle. I don't know what the prices are at home because we've been out of the country for like 9 months. So I'm not sure what everything costs, but what I want to do is take my Walmart order from like last August and compare it to this June and see what the price differences are. That's it, guys. Boom. Chicken, rice, egg, banana. If you want more flavors in your food, just decrease the amount of fats and you can add some eggs. So instead of getting fatty chicken and fatty turkey and fatty ground beef or whatever, get super lean stuff, add some egg in there. Instead of going all rice, drop the rice a little bit, add a banana. If you're having trouble eating because you can't eat all that food, then maybe grab some potatoes and air fry them to shrink the carbs down. If you're eating very small amounts of food and you want to feel more volume in your food, add more vegetables to this, zucchini, whatever, and just use like boil your food, like your potatoes, your vegetables, boil them, and they'll soak up the water and like inflate, and you'll feel like you're eating a lot more food. So I'm gonna eat this really quick. Well, not really quick. I'm gonna try to take my time and eat this and not rush through it, because all I do is rush through my food. And yeah, that's how I make my chicken, rice, egg, banana thing. And I wish there was just a mountain of peanut butter all melted on top, but hope you guys enjoyed this one. See you at the next vid.